Hey everyone, how are you guys doing? So I thought I would film my first review today. I read recently The Spy Who Loved Me by by Ian Fleming. It's a James Bond book, and I thought I would share my thoughts on it. I'm not sure if any of you guys have read those kinds of books, if you're into them, but I'm a huge fan of the James Bond movies. I've watched every single one of them, and some of them even, I would say, around 6-7 times. I love James Bond. He's probably, well, it's basically my favorite franchise, or I don't know if it's a franchise, but my favorite, like, series, or whatever you want to call it. So I thought I would read The Spy Who Loved Me. This book is part of, I'm participating in the Eclectic Readers Challenge. I will leave a link below if any of you guys is interested in checking it out. And if you want, I'll make a video about it and the books I've chosen for that. And so basically, this book was part of the, I chose this book for the suspense and romance, something like that, or adventure and romance. No, I think it's suspense and romance. And so I chose The Spy Who Loved Me, there we go, by Ian Fleming. I read it on my e-reader, so there we go. And so I thought I would talk a bit about the plot and then a bit about the characters and end it with my thoughts on the book and on the characters, even though you'll kind of like get a feel of what I felt when I was reading this book throughout my review. So basically, the story talks about this woman called Vivian Michael, which is the girl here on the cover in the white overall. It starts with her, like, the beginning of her life, basically, when she was like a kid, and she became an orphan, I think that's it. And so her aunt sends her to England so she can study there in like a boarding school. And there she has, like, she grows up and she meets boys and she has different like adventures with them, and so it talks a bit about her relationship with boys, 2 boys specifically, and how she gets her heart broken a couple of times. And after the second time, she decides that she's had enough with boys and with getting her heart broken. She decided to kind of have a cold heart and just try to live her life without men and without love and relationships and all that. And so she decides to leave England. Oh, sorry, she was in West Germany back then. The book is set in the Cold War. That's why I said West Germany. I think it's West Berlin, not even Germany. I think she was in Berlin, and so she left there and she went back to her roots. Basically, she went back to Canada. She saw her aunt, and then she decided to take a road trip from Canada to Florida. I think from Montreal to Florida. And on her way there, she stops at this motel where she kind of finds a job for like 2 weeks. And so she takes the opportunity, because she wants to like see things around her and do a bit of tourism. So she's like, it's a great way to gain some money and all that for just a couple of weeks. So she stays there, and she's supposed to close the motel, and a big thunderstorm comes up. And something else comes and knocks on the door afterwards, and that's when the adventures and like the action starts. So there we go. That's like a pretty quick overview of the story. Then there's okay, so let's talk about the characters. There's Vivian Michael. She's in her early 20s. I think she's about 23 when the story is currently happening, because she has like kind of flashbacks, and that's how we find out about what led her to the point where she is right now and all that. And so she she was okay. I didn't mind her. I didn't love her, and I wasn't like completely concerned about her when she was in danger. but I mean, she wasn't that bad. Sometimes she was a bit too whiny, but other times I kind of agreed with what she decided and her instincts and all that. But I mean, I didn't really get too attached to her. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, the other main character protagonist is James Bond. Now, if you don't know who James Bond is an English spy. He's part of MI6. So he's like the secret, he's a secret agent, and his codename is 007. So I always see 007 with James Bond. And so he's basically, you know, he's a spy, so that's what he's supposed to do. Only in this story he's fighting against gangsters from Troy, New York, or I think it was Albany, New York, or something like that. And it was like, he was so out of his element in this book, and I completely hated him. And I am a huge fan of James Bond, but I've never read the books. I've always watched the movies. And James Bond was super smart in the movies. I loved the gadgets, the action. He was ruthless when he needed to be. He just got the job done, and he was amazing. He's incredible. He's super smart. He knows what he's doing. You know, he knows what he's doing. Like, his job, he does it so well. And in this book, he basically sucked. I hated him. He did mistake after the other. He was like so rusty. I was like, oh my gosh, like I completely hated him. Sorry. That's my opinion on it. And I mean, he just appeared that like half of the book, the first half of the book is talking about Vivian Michael's personal life and what led her to where she was now. So yeah. So basically what I thought of the book is, if I recommend reading it or not, I wouldn't recommend anyone who's seen the movies to read it. Especially if you've seen The Spy Who Loved Me, because it's a completely different story. In the movie, it talks about like this these submarines that have, I think, nuclear weapons on them have been disappearing. Whether it's on the American side, the British side, and I think the British side and the Russian side, and so they kind of join forces, and so you have a lady Russian spy, and you have James Bond, who's an English spy, so they're good. That's where The Spy Who Loved Me comes from, like it's Russian spy. But this book talked about something completely different, talks about like the gang wars and all that, which was, as I said, completely out of James Bond's element. And he was just really bad in it. So he shattered the awesomeness of James Bond that I knew. So if you've never watched the movies, if you're not a huge fan of James Bond, of the movies and the franchise and everything, you could give it a try. It was a decent book. I gave it 3 stars on Goodreads and on my Booklikes. But I mean, I didn't enjoy it that much because I'm so familiar with the movies, and I've watched The Spy Who Loved Me probably around 3 times. So I was pretty familiar with that, and then I started reading, and there was no Vivian Michael in the movie, and then I realized that they just took the novel's name and the movie, and they didn't keep the story, which I completely understand why they wouldn't. It was really bad in that. But yeah, so basically, I recommend, if you want to try reading this book, you can go ahead. I just recommend it more for people who have not seen the James Bond movies, who are not familiar with who James Bond is and his persona and his abilities and all that. But if you are, I don't think you really enjoy this book. I personally didn't. But then everyone has their own, you know, like, opinions on things and tastes. So, I mean, you could give it a try. It wasn't that bad. And it's pretty quick. I think it's 135 pages, which is really short. So, yeah. Hope you liked my first review. I promise I'll get better. It was my first one ever, so I'll probably get better in the future. doing those videos. But yeah, so if you want, I'll do my next video will be like on the eclectic readers challenge, the e-readers challenge, and maybe I'll do maybe the scavenger scavenger book hunt. I don't remember the tag, the one that the Library of Sarah created. So yeah, hope to see you guys in my next video. As usual, the links will be all down below, and feel free to leave me some comments. I love interacting with you guys. Okay, bye!